The Supreme Court and their decision last week. How does it impact you? Plus, a great event coming up, the Family Leaders Summit. It's in July. I know where you can get free tickets. It's coming up next, live on The View from a Pew.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome. It is the very first day in July in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is The View from a Pew. Phone lines open, 244-0077. That's 515-244-0077. It is your voice we want to hear. My guest hosts, of course, today are Frank the Verse Thomas. Are you back for good now? Hold on. Go ahead. Say that again.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, did you hear that? I heard radios clicking off all across the city. And, of course, Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat. Bob is a former CSI, right? What do you call? What's the name?
Criminalist.
Criminalist? You're a criminal?
Criminalist.
What's the difference between a criminalist and a criminal?
It's a forensic scientist.
So you're the good guys.
Right.
And he also loves Jesus, and he's been my co-host for 5 years?
Or more.
Or more? I suppose you're pushing for a raise now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew you would be. Ryan's producing, and my very special guest today is the Honorable Bob Vander Plaats, who is the president?
I'm the president and CEO of the Family Leader.
Family Leader. And it's very, very pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here. I love the new digs, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. We're getting into them. Our old studios, you were in that. You could barely get 4 people in here, and here I think we could get we're going to have a worship praise band in here from time to time.
We should have. This looks great.
Yeah, we've got a wireless mic that we can pass around if we had a little studio audience, so it's nice to be here. And for those of you who are new or have just found this radio station, we are a new radio station serving Central Iowa. This is called The Truth, 99.3, and we are preaching, teaching, and social commentary 24 hours a day. You won't find us going to high school sports on a Friday night or some info commercial on Saturday or anything like that. This is strictly for Jesus. We start at 5 p.m. in the evening with Bible commentary all the way till 11 o'clock in the morning. And then from 11 to 5, you've got people like Jay Seklow, you've got Ask Dr. Brown, you've got myself, and, of course, the Steve Dace from 3 to 5 in the afternoon every day, Monday through Friday, back here on Primetime Drive Time here in Central Iowa. So we're glad to have you here. It's no accident you found us. We've been praying for you. Yes, I stole that line from my church, but it's a good line. I mean, it works. Because we have been praying for more listeners and more listeners to come here, hear the gospel, and maybe even get mugged by Jesus when they're here. You know, my goal is that somebody's listening to Steve getting all rootin' tootin' with the politics in the afternoon, and they pull in the garage and turn off the car, and in the morning when they turn it on, there's John MacArthur. There's Ravi Zachariah. There's John McDonald. You know, there's R.C. Sproul. They're preaching the gospel, and maybe we can make heaven just a little more crowded. That'd be fun. All right, let's first talk about the Family Leaders Summit. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is it taking the place of the straw poll, kind of?
Absolutely not.
Not, okay.
This is our 4th annual the Family Leadership Summit. And the straw poll's typically the first weekend of the Iowa State Fair, which would be August 15 this year. Our date was initially August 15 for the Leadership Summit. But because I wanted the straw poll to take place more than ever this year, we moved our summit from August 15 to July 18 to make sure that we preserve that date for the Iowa straw poll. But forces beyond our control.
I think that'd be God.
There is no more straw poll. Well, it'd either be God or Branstad, one of the two.
And so, but in a way, except for voting for a candidate, okay, and all the free food and hoopla.
Sure.
If you want to sit down and hear almost every Republican candidate for president, you're going to be able to hear him that day at C.Y. Stevens Auditorium in Ames.
You're definitely going to get to hear 9 serious national leaders who are looking at running for president. The first session starts at 10 a.m. on July 18th. The first session, you're going to have Senator Marco Rubio. You're going to have businessman Donald Trump, who's polling second right now in the Iowa poll.
Okay.
Dr. Ben Carson, who's tied with Trump for second. That's the first session. The second session, you're going to have Governor Huckabee, you're going to have Governor Perry, and you're going to have Senator Cruz. And then the third session, you're going to have Governor Jindal, Senator Santorum, and Governor Walker. So nine candidates or potential candidates. It's a crowded field, but this is a great opportunity not to hear stump speeches. This is not going to be a cattle call for stump speeches. If you're familiar with Frank Luntz, and I believe you are, a Fox News contributor, he's a pollster. He's going to be basically asking the questions, facilitating the questions of the candidates one by one, but trying to get to why do you believe what you believe to be really true, and then what application is that to a pro-family vision.
Okay.
But he's going to get to the heart of the matter. I think it'll be a very telling venue about who do you want to support, or who are you looking at supporting in the Iowa caucuses.
Good. Okay. Now, 10 o'clock, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson. Then the next session is at 1.
It's probably at 1:30 because we're going to have probably an hour 15-minute lunch.
All right. Then that's Huckabee, Perry, and Cruz. And then 4?
4 o'clock-ish.
4 o'clock will be Bobby Jindal, Rick Santorum, and Scott Walker. Now, I would assume that you're open to other people.
Well, we are open.
Packed?
No, well, we're packed right now. But to give you an example, we invited everybody.
Yeah.
We've invited Hillary, Bernie Sanders. We invited, I forget the other guy, the governor of Maryland. Can't think of his name right now, but I'm sure he's going to do well.
O'Malley?
Yeah, O'Malley, there you go. So Hillary, O'Malley, and then Bernie Sanders as well. In addition to these candidates, so you're going to have guys like Tony Perkins, who's going to be speaking. You're going to have Gary Bauer, who did run for president one time, going to be speaking. Jonathan Falwell, I believe he's going to be there speaking as well. So it's going to be a great opportunity to hear biblical worldview. Well, I know what you guys are all about, biblical worldview, and then how do you apply that in today's culture?
Okay. All right. And it's going to be the 3 of them at one time being interviewed. No?
Not at one time. It's going to be one-on-one.
Okay.
One-on-one. So it will not be a cattle call. It's not going to be a debate or a forum, but it's going to be frank. And these gentlemen, they'll get an opening statement. Frank will get a chance to quiz them. The audience will. They'll get a closing. And I'm sure Frank is probably going to tell us in his focus groups who's resonating, what issues are resonating, and who does this base really fired up about.
All right. So write it down. It's the Family Leader Summit. It is July 18th at C.Y. Stevens in Ames. Tickets are free, but you have to have a ticket. And the only place to get the ticket is thefamilyleader.com. All you do is go there and sign up for a ticket, and then do they print up a ticket, or are they on a will call?
No, they will actually get a ticket.
Okay.
Once we are sold out. Matter of fact, our pace of tickets right now is 3 times what it's ever been. And now part of it's because it's free. Part of it's because, we're in the Iowa caucus year right now.
Yeah, right.
So I would go get your ticket as soon as you can at thefamilyleader.com, print it out. It's a free ticket. It's a free lunch. We will have a free will offering, but that's up to you and God.
Okay.
But if you like having these type of events and venues, we'd ask for a donation. But otherwise, we do not want cost to be a prohibitor in your attendance.
All right. And I just thought of something I wanted to say. Well, I'll think of it later on. All right. So go to thefamilyleader.com. That's real easy. Thefamilyleader.com. Get your ticket free of charge and come be a part of this. You're probably not going to have a better opportunity between now and caucus, whenever that's going to be, to hear all these candidates speak frankly. Speak frankly about their thoughts and views. Because even though Frank's a conservative, he's a journalist.
He is a journalist.
He's not going to run soft toe with any of these guys.
Not at all. Matter of fact, Frank and I were talking this week, and a line Frank used, and I've heard it before, but it's a great line. He said, Bob, my questions will not embarrass them. My goal is not to embarrass them. He said their answers might embarrass them. He goes, but my questions will not. And his goal is, I want everybody to give their best performance, but I want to know what's real, what's Memorex, what's a talking point, what do I really believe in, what's my heartbeat? What hills am I willing to die on?
Yeah.
What kind of a leader will I be? The last time we had Frank Luntz facilitate one of these, it was 4 years ago. And I'm telling you, journalists left saying that's exactly what I need to see when I'm selecting a president. This is something you do not want to miss on July 18th. And as you mentioned about the straw poll, this is now the premier summer event before the very first national debate on August 6th in Cleveland, Ohio. So this is an opportunity to really, really take an authentic look who these guys are.
I'm going to ask a question. If you can't answer it, that's okay.
Sure.
Why wouldn't everybody come? Why wouldn't? Christie just jumped in yesterday. You'd think he'd be dying to get this type of attention. Jeb Bush, like it or not, he's something we got to reckon with on the Republican side.
Well, without question. And for some of them, and I remind the candidates, hey, family.
Ferrara, whatever that woman is.
Family's our middle name. So if you have a family event that you need to be at or something like that, we understand. But this is a base you don't want to bypass.
Mm-mm.
But you mentioned Chris Christie. He kind of showed his hand last night where he's got 5 stops in New Hampshire, none in Iowa. He's betting the farm on New Hampshire. I think Bush is going into New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Trump wants New Hampshire as well. But Trump's doing well in Iowa and in New Hampshire. So it's going to be a competitive field with now, I think, 14 candidates. There'll probably be 16 by the time the summit happens, with Kasich getting in as well. It is going to be an interesting field, but it's a great opportunity for the Iowans to have a front row seat here.
Yeah, and we need to thank the family leader for putting this on. This is not easy. And, you do it anyway because you love Jesus and you want to get the right people in office. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, we have a great team. They work tirelessly, as well as a bunch of volunteers. A lot of volunteers pull this off as well. But the whole deal is, how can we better inform the general public so that when they go make their decision of who they're going to support, that they make the right decision?
Yeah. And so 99.3 The Truth will be broadcasting live from C.Y. Stevens Auditorium. We will have a feed that we can take from the podium, and when we get the proper permissions, we'll let you hear some of that yourself. And we'll also have some of the candidates at our booth. Steve Deace will be there. Tamara Scott will be there. I'll be there. Frank will be there. Bob, are you coming? You don't know yet, probably.
I don't know yet.
You're not a big politics guy. I know that.
I'm not.
That's why you want to be here. And I'm serious about that. There's a lot of people who aren't that interested in politics but love this event, because this event is way more than politics.
Yeah, no stump speeches.
And we believe that, electing the right person, that's important, but that's like putting the finger in the dike that just holds the dike for a while. We need to rebuild the dike. And that's why our goal at the Family Leader is all on spiritual transformation, cultural revival, turning our heart back to God, His principles, His precepts. When that happens, we'll impact elections. And when that happens, we'll influence policy. And when that happens, Iowa can be a model state for others to follow.
Yeah, and we are.
Oh, we definitely are.
Yeah.
But we're being very intentional about it at the Family Leader, Mac, because we found out 4 years ago that we're one of the only organizations in the country that can actually move numbers, that we have the kind of base that will actually mobilize and go to work. So now we're just trying to take that up another notch and be a model for other states to follow.
Now, is there going to be an opportunity after they've heard all these candidates that they get to put a name on a piece of paper and drop it in a fishbowl?
No, we don't do straw polls. Now, we will want to hear from Frank and the focus group of undecided voters, like, hey, what issues resonated with you? What candidates resonated with you? What candidates on what issues resonated? So it's much more broad and, I believe, comprehensive than a straw poll. The straw poll, especially with a group like ours trying to pull it off, it's wrought with you're going to mess it up.
Yeah.
And we're not, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we're not looking for that. All right. Going to take our first break. My guest is Bob Vander Plaats from the Family Leader. The summit is July 18th. It's a Saturday. Starts at 10 a.m. at C.Y. Stevens Auditorium. If you want a ticket, it's free, but you got to have a ticket. You can't just show up. Please, you got to have a ticket. It's free. Go to thefamilyleader.com. 99.3 The Truth, along with myself, Steve Deace, Tamara Scott, Frank Thomas. A lot of us will be broadcasting live. You're welcome to come by the booth and tell us what you think. It's really your voice I want to hear at that summit. I want you to listen to session 1 and come down and sit in front of the microphone and say, here's what I thought, and share it with the rest of the world, because it will be a national broadcast. All right, the Supreme Court decision on Friday. We'll talk about that when we come back next.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome back. First day of July. We're dating this show because what we talk about will be timely. We appreciate you listening live here on 99.3 The Truth or webcast1live.com. But if you're listening to this in a podcast or watching it, we especially appreciate your time. I know you have hundreds of thousands of choices of things you can download. It's an amazing the world we live on electronically. So if you've chosen to spend a little bit of your time with us, listening to Bob and myself and Frank and Bob, and we really thank you. I mean, I know your time's valuable, and I know your thought process is valuable, and we want to honor that. We want to honor that. We want to be a blessing in your life. We want to not only energize you, but entertain you, but we also want to help educate. You know, I'm the dumbest guy in this room when it comes to politics. And having a guy like Bob here, Bob Vander Plaats, is nice to have because we can get some of his opinions. Now, I'm going to start off with a tough opinion. You don't have a favorite in this race yet, do you?
I don't have a favorite. As a matter of fact, what's interesting about that, Mac, is that my own family members, my own sons, will ask me, Dad, who are you leaning towards? And I tell them it is a good field. And I think we just need to keep this playing field level and fair, let the process play out. And in our role, I mean, as the family leader, our goal is to pray and pray and pray that God would raise up and raise up and raise up the one that we're supposed to rally around. And we talk a lot about, when David was chosen, man looks at the outward appearances, how much money they have, what's the organization, Can they win? All that stuff. But God looks at the heart. So our goal is let's look at the heart. And maybe God will raise up a person that could be part of a spiritual revival. I don't think spiritual revival is going to come on Air Force One, but one day I believe Air Force One of a spiritual revival.
Yeah. Now, does the family leader at some point endorse someone? I
for sure will endorse. Last time what happened is that the boards gave me the freedom. They said, Bob, you go ahead and endorse, but we're going to stay out of it because instead of being a kingmaker, we want to be a standard bearer. This time the board is in, and the same board members are in really good conversation, but saying the country is at such a pivotal point, such a crucial juncture, that they may want to get in this time along with me in an endorsement so that the whole organization's weight would be behind the person as well.
All right. Now, before I get to the Supreme Court conversation, any of you guys have a question?
Yeah, I just had a brief question. How long do you think it'll take these candidates to break Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment and start cannibalizing each other?
Well, I think some already have. Now, you remember Ronald Reagan, who gave the 11th commandment, but he was also pretty good, too, about pointing out differences between he and his opponents.
Sure.
His thing was, keep it focused on the issue. Don't tear down the person. And quite frankly, I think that's what Christ would say. It's okay to address the issue, but don't tear down the person. Matter of fact, Darla and I were having dinner with Ted and Heidi Cruz one night. And Heidi was saying how much she's enjoying this process because everybody's so nice and they're so kind and they're so... And I said, and you're in April. You wait till it's November and December, and when the heat is on, and really what happens, the consultants start getting in the ears of the candidate and say, we have to go negative. We have to tear him down. And if you recall, last cycle, Newt Gingrich, he took Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment to a whole new level, saying, I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to be a leader. Because people want positive, I'm going to give them positive. And Romney and Ron Paul in particular went ruthless on Newt Gingrich. And Newt was leading the polls in Iowa by far, and they tore him down to single digits. And then it was, I believe, Florida where Newt returned the favor.
Do you think the condensed debate schedule is going to help or amplify that need to start the attack?
I think it's going to amplify it because you're going to have to do it quicker. People are reading the poll numbers. Every campaign's reading the poll numbers. And so if Scott Walker's in the lead right now, according to polls, he is. So now the gun sights get on Scott Walker. So Scott Walker needs to be prepared for that as well. And the art of political warfare is you just don't attack what isn't a threat. So if someone below you is attacking, you don't attack. If someone above you, then you attack. Or someone that's a threat to you, then you attack. I would love to see the day, though, what you're trying to get to, Frank. I'd love to see the day where this is about leadership, and this is about vision for the country, and about having an adult conversation. Because we love to tell the kids, hey, don't bully. Don't bully other kids. And then they see $1 billion worth of TV ads just tearing people down. Well, how much, the kids say, I'd rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. I'd rather watch what you guys are doing here.
Yeah. Before we get to the Supreme Court, anybody not in the race that you'd like to see get in the race or that you think will get in the race?
I'd love to see Ronald Reagan get in the race, but I don't think that's going to happen. No, I think, frankly, this is the most number of candidates we've had, at least in my lifetime, in the field. But not only the greatest number, these are some quality candidates. I mean, the quality is really high this time. So if you come out of this nomination process, you will be refined. And I think they will be a great candidate, and it will have to be game on. If you're in this field, I mean, Mike Huckabee, who's a really good candidate, is polling 6th right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think Huckabee's going to finish 6th, but he's polling 6th right now. It's going to be a good field to watch.
Is it going to be Hillary on the other side?
That will be interesting. I'm not convinced yet that's going to be Hillary. I don't think the Democrats, it's a favorite of the Democrats that it is Hillary. However, I just heard that Hillary has raised the most amount of money of any presidential candidate, including Barack Obama, Republican or Democrat, in history in the first quarter. So she's going to have plenty of money. This Bernie Sanders thing, you have to watch it. Because now Bernie Sanders, I'm thinking, there's no way he's a threat. He keeps climbing in the polls. The attendance at his venues are through the roof. He is definitely going to push Hillary. So maybe he's not going to beat Hillary. He's going to push Hillary.
All right. Bob Vander Plaats in the house, CEO and president of the Family Leader, the big summit. Man, I hope you choose to go to this. It's free of charge. Now, yeah, you do. You got to go to thefamilyleader.com. You got to get in there and get your ticket. There will be a point when there's no more tickets left. There's only so many seats at CY Stevens. But as Bob pointed out earlier, you're not going to hear the narrative. You're not going to hear the bully speeches. You're going to have Frank Luntz from Fox News interviewing, asking questions of these candidates. And they won't know what the questions are in advance. That doesn't happen. Remember the one that George Bush got asked?
At Drake University.
Yeah, what person influenced you the most in your life? I'd like to have that question, but I to say we're going to assume that it's Jesus, so give us your second.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I ask sometimes in an interview with I'm going to hire somebody. I say, if you could spend with anybody 24 hours, living or dead, who would it be? And I say, and I'm going to take Jesus off the map.
Sure.
Because I'm assuming you choose Jesus first, so who's second? All right. You have been, by far, the you've just been incredible when it comes to biblical marriage in the state of Iowa. And you've been very successful. But last Friday, we got betrayed. My word, not yours.
Sure.
Don't quote Bob on that. That's my word. We got betrayed by John Roberts and the Supreme Court of the United States. And every single person that I've talked to that knows anything, and I'm not talking about those low information voters that just go with the latest headline on Facebook and go, see, George Bush did have 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Everybody is telling me that what Supreme Court did was just not, it's not that it's not right morally to you and I. They just shouldn't do that.
They shouldn't do
They're
it.
way out of bounds.
And probably the only thing I would correct you on there, Mac, is Justice Roberts actually we're pleased with because he stayed with us. He wrote the dissenting opinion. It was Justice Kennedy who went with the majority opinion.
Oh, good. So I'm the low information
No.
today.
There was a day where none of us knew who the Supreme Court justices were. I mean, we had no idea what their names were.
Yeah.
Today, we're starting to know their names more and more and more because the court continues to get more and more and more self-appointed power that constitutionally is not theirs. And so what happened was Justice Robert not only dissented and wrote the dissenting opinion, but he read his dissent. First time ever, he read the dissent in front of his peers. And he said things like, who do we think we are? Kennedy, the guy who wrote the majority opinion, he said, well, this institution is established by God. We would agree with that. He said, this institution has been around a millennia plus, historically. It's the foundation of, and he goes, and now you want us to be smarter than God? And yet he said, he answered that question, yes.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm writing the majority opinion. So Roberts is saying, A, you defied the law of nature and nature's God. And understand why that's so important. The founders of the Declaration of Independence, which predates the Constitution, cited law of nature and nature's God. Because Bob and Frank and Bob and Mac, we might all be selfish, which we are, and we want the world tilted our way. And the founder says, okay, only if it's according to the law of nature and nature's God. Because what the Supreme Court did, and Roberts pointed this out, they didn't redefine the institution of marriage. They undefined the institution of marriage.
Yeah.
Meaning now polygamy in Utah, where the United States, before Utah became a state in the Union, they said you need to denounce polygamy first. So they had to denounce polygamy, but now polygamy can come back. And by the way, polygamy laws have just been struck down as unconstitutional in the state of Utah. Polyamory, same thing. Pedophilia, the University of Colorado right now is saying that they want to reclassify that as a sexual orientation and decriminalize it.
Oh, my.
So I'm saying all of a sudden when you get outside of God's design for human sexuality, inside of the bonds of one man, one woman marriage, it'll be an absolute train wreck. Justice Alito said we went from like Justice Marshall, a founding U.S. Supreme Court justice who is a constitutional scholar. We went from Marshall to reading opinions out of a fortune cookie. Instead of Lady Justice being blind, we're reading opinion polls. This is wrong. So not only did the court make a wrong opinion, but the other four are calling them out of saying this is being activist, this is oligarchical, this is anarchy, you can't do this. So it's a deeply divided court. And what's interesting to me, you have a deeply divided court. It's a constitutional crisis at every level. You voided 50 million Americans' votes.
Yeah.
And the power belongs to we the people, not we the courts. The constraining element to any law is law of nature and nature God, and you violated all of that, okay? And yet you have mainstream media like the Des Moines Register saying, what a great day in history. And Justice Roberts addressed that too. Justice Roberts said, well, some will celebrate this opinion. He goes, you cannot celebrate the Constitution today because it got trampled on and it got shredded in front of your very eyes. That's an issue in this country.
Bob Vander Plaats is my guest. He is the CEO and president of the Family Leader. The Big Family Leader Summit is coming up on Saturday, July 18th at C.Y. Stevens Auditorium in Ames. There are right now 3 sessions, one at 10, one at 1:30, and one at 4. They'll be hosted by Fox News' Frank Luntz, and it will not be a narrative. It will not be a stump speech. It'll be questions and answers. You can get your free tickets, but you have to have a ticket. You can't just show up. Free tickets at thefamilyleader.com. You'll hear from Marco Rubio, Mr. Trump, Mr. Carson, Pastor Huckabee, Rick Perry, Ted Cruz, Bobby Jindal, Mr. Santorum, and Mr. Walker, and maybe even more. All right, when we come back, we continue the conversation on the Supreme Court decision last Friday. I like what you said, undefining. Yeah, we're coming back live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top, and then at 3:03, the Steve Deace. Back on the radio, afternoon drive in Des Moines, every afternoon from 3 to 5, right here on The Truth, 99.3, powered by webcast1live.com. My special guest today is Bob Vander Plaats. He's the president and CEO of the very successful Family Leader, and they're putting on a party, and you should come. And guess what? The ticket's free, and you even get free lunch if you want. You can make a goodwill offering if you like, but you don't have to. We want you to come and hear 9 of the top Republican candidates being interviewed. Is interview the right word that Frank Lutz is going to interview him?
He is going to facilitate a discussion, but there's no doubt it's going to be questions. But Frank's also going to try to engage the audience in these questions as well.
Okay.
Frank is very talented. I mean, you think you want to engage 2,000 people in a conversation with one guy on stage?
Yeah.
I said, Frank, how are you going to do this? He goes, trust me, we'll get it done.
Yeah, so you want to be there. You can get your ticket free of charge, but you have to have a ticket, please. Now, you're probably thinking, well, if they're free, I'll just show up and get in. No. This is going to be sold out, and you're going to be left out, and I don't want that to happen to you. So go to your internet, thefamilyleader.com, and get your ticket, and then show up. All right, Frank Thomas is here along with Bob Montserrat. Ryan is producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. I couldn't do it without you. All right, Frank, question?
Well, apparently, when Bork got borked, Kennedy was the second choice, correct? What would that court look like today? I mean, obviously, Robert Bork, I think, is deceased now.
Yeah.
But what would that court have looked like had we had Robert Bork on it?
You know, it's a great question. It's always a question that gets posed to presidential candidates as well.
Don't build his ego up by telling him it's a great. Well,
I like Frank. I love it that you love your job, but I like these guys helping you out.
Bob Vander Plaats said he liked my question.
It's a great question. Frank should be on every day. But it's a question that candidates get asked all the time about what kind of judges are you going to appoint. It should not be a litmus test on issues. It should be a litmus test on the Constitution. Are you going to uphold the Constitution? And the biggest thing judges have to ask themselves, are they willing to restrain themselves? Okay? For example, I had media ask me, he said, now, Bob, once the court makes its opinion on marriage, does that mean the issue goes away? Is the issue settled? I said, absolutely not. I said, look back at history. Dred Scott.
Right.
Dred Scott said blacks are property. Did that end the slavery debate? Or did you have a presidential candidate who became president who was willing to lead the country through a civil war to say blacks will not be property on my watch? And Lincoln did that. Roe v. Wade, 1973. And today, America is more pro-life than ever, but it escalated the abortion debate. It did not end the abortion debate. And so I believe the court got it wrong with Dred Scott. I believe the court got it wrong with Roe v. Wade. I believe the court got it wrong last week, Friday. But the people end up getting right. And the reason the people end up getting right is the law of nature, nature's God, has a funny way of being the final say.
Well, the thing I admired so much about Bork, he was so intelligent, but he could talk to you, not past you.
Right.
And he really piqued my curiosity about law because he talked the language that the common man could understand.
Yeah.
He could talk the political speak or the lawyerly speak.
Yeah.
But he could talk to you and you could understand what he was saying.
Well, the Constitution, when the founders wrote the Constitution, I ask anybody, if you have not read the Constitution, I'd beg you, go back home, find it on the internet, read the Constitution. It was written to an 8th grade audience, meaning keep it simple so the people can understand it. Now, 8th grade audience back then is probably different than 8th graders today, but still, if you read it, it does not take a law degree to understand your constitutional rights, what's in the Constitution, who has authority where. So that's what I think Bork is good at. But the court, Jefferson warned us about the court.
So people are making this much more difficult than it needs to be.
Matter of fact, it's being highly confusing because it's going through all the litigation, all the legalese process, all the lawyer school process. And they want to confuse you for a reason, because if they confuse you, then you no longer have power.
You just phase out.
They have the power. Jefferson was so concerned about the courts because the judicial system, the judicial branch, was the last branch to get put in the Constitution. And so they didn't really spend the time that they should have on the judicial branch, although it was going to be the weakest branch of the three. But Jefferson was so concerned because he said, if this court gets out of control, you'll have a tyrannical government.
Yeah.
Where you'll be ruled by unelected justices.
And we're there today.
When you have 5 black-robed, unelected justices basically saying we constitute a constitutional convention, that's an issue. And my question to all the leaders is, if you're going to roll over on marriage, how about if they say, turn in your guns? Are you going to roll over on that too? Or let me take your private property? If the court says it, does that mean we just accept it? Of course that's not how you accept it. That's why you have a Congress to make the opinion into law. You have a president that has to execute the law, but the court doesn't get the final say.
Bob Vander Plaats is my guest, president and CEO of the Family Leader. The big summit, it's coming. You need to be there. It's free, but you have to have a ticket. The ticket's free, but you have to have a ticket. Get your ticket at thefamilyleader.com. Starts at 10 a.m. I'd be there early. Starts 10 a.m. on the 18th of July, and 9 great candidates interviewed and spoken to with Frank Lutz. Now, we'll be broadcasting live there. Steve Deace, myself, Tamara Scott, Frank Thomas. We'll be there live. And if you're there, I want to hear what you're thinking. It's your voice I want to hear. I'd love to have Mike Huckabee come around, but it'll be Huckabee's narrative. I want your voice to come by and say, I just sat down and heard Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson. And here's what I thought. So make sure you stop by our booth there at C.Y. Stevens Auditorium where we will be broadcasting live. I don't know if you remember this, but, oh gosh, Bob, 9 years ago, it was before Barack Obama got elected, so it was before 2008, right? You came on my radio show on 98.3, and I had that little difficult child with me, Mr. Bradshaw. And we were talking about gay marriage back then. And I kept saying, Bradshaw, you don't understand. It's a slippery slope. It's religious freedom. It's a slippery slope. And nobody had that on their radar except guys like you and me. Well, the crows have come home to roost. Because what's next? What's the LGBT ? Movement's next move to take God out of society? To tell God you're not welcome.
I'm glad you brought that, because that is the ultimate goal. Now I'm going to bring you back to the 2012 Democrat National Convention.
Yes.
Charlotte, North Carolina. That is when the delegates took God out of the party platform. And then after political pressure, God got booed back in.
Third time, got
booed back into the party platform. God did. The reason is, when you remove God, no longer do you have to abide by his standards, his principles, his precepts. It's up to anybody. You get to live and do what's right in your own eyes, the book of Judges, which is an absolute train wreck. What's next for the LGBT? Time Magazine had it in the first article. It's now time to remove tax-exempt status away from churches like Lutheran Church of Hope or like any religious institution that disagrees with the view of homosexuality. Remove their tax. A private school, a Christian school like a Faith Baptist College in Ankeny, or like Northwestern in Orange City, or Central College in Pella. If you disagree, we will force you to comply. Ask the Gertz House, the Odegaards.
Yeah.
It used to be.
They were on this show last Friday.
It used to be Mary and Betty. We just want to have a garden and let us live our life, and we're not going to interfere at all. And that's no. You are now being forced to care. You will celebrate this, or you will be made to care.
And I don't know if it was you or Steve that came up with this line, but it's a brilliant line, and that is, you will be made to care.
That was Steve Deace. I just follow suit.
That's a pretty good one. Frank, I'll get to you next. Yeah. The other thing, and you probably already know this, but those 2 men who asked to be able to get married at the Gertz house were already married. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I do know that they were customers prior to asking for the wedding venue, and they happily served them.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it was like, now we want to get married in your venue, and then they turned vicious we're going to sue you out of business.
So Dick told me last Friday on this show that they found out they had already been legally married in the state of Iowa. That's how big of a sham it was. That's shameful.
Well, they're targeting business and industry that disagrees with them. I was at Drake University. I asked the question. I said, lower the rainbow flag. Does a Jewish slaughterhouse that only processes kosher meat?
Okay, we're coming back right here live on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 minutes for the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at 3, and then at 3:03, The Steve Deace. Live back in Afternoon Drive here in Des Moines, 3 to 5, exclusively here on The Truth. 99.3. All right, I interrupted you. I'm sorry, we were going to break. You were talking about how local businesses are being affected by gay marriage and this movement of the Supreme Court.
Sure. Well, it's this whole thing on religious liberty. And I had the opportunity to present to Drake University students. And this is when Indiana was going through this whole religious liberty case not that long ago. And I said, what you need to do is when you take the rainbow flag down, now you need to ask yourself some questions. Does the Jewish slaughterhouse that only processes kosher meat, do they now have to process unkosher meat or get sued out of business? And of course, all the students said no. I said, well, what about the gay print shop? Do they have to print the family leader's literature or get sued out of business? I said, no. I said, exactly. Because it's the free exercise of religion, it's not the freedom of religion, believe what you want to believe, but keep it inside your head. Or freedom of religion, keep it inside the 4 walls of your church. You get to live out your belief, free exercise of. So I think that's the next debate that we're going to have to fight.
All right, Frank.
Well, when Mac mentioned our mutual friend Bradshaw, it was guys like him that called people like you, people like me, fearmongers and alarmists for bringing up the issue that the slippery slope, what's going to happen when you go down it. When a ball starts rolling downhill, it's pretty hard to stop.
It is.
Pretty hard to stop the motion of that ball. So what do you say now to individuals like that called you all sorts of names?
Well, to me, it's just common sense. It was interesting. Jan Michelson, a friend of all of your guys's, who does a morning drive show in Des Moines, he had me on
1040 WHO.
Yeah, he had me on one morning, and he wanted me to spike the football in the end zone. Because I told Chief Justice Mark McCormick, in a debate on Iowa Public Television about all the things that could happen if you do this. And McCormick at that time said, those are red herrings, you're just trying to scare people, blah, 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 blah. Well, now so all these are coming true. And Jan said, are you a prophet? I said, I'm not a prophet. but I've got a thread of common sense. And I was a high school principal. When you take parameters away, people will be very innovative and creative, and God knows that as well.
Well, I have heard that Ruth Bader Ginsburg wants to make the age of consent for girls 12 years old. I don't know if that's absolutely written in stone or not, but what's going to happen when somebody comes to the court and petitions the court that, hey, I'm in love with a 12-year-old, whatever. I can't help it. I was born that way.
Sure. That's what the University of Colorado or Colorado State is saying right now, that pedophilia should be a sexual orientation, not criminalization, because they're going to follow the same route that homosexuality did about it's a sexual orientation. Here's the thing about the identity of restrooms, male, female restrooms. You get to use whichever one you want. That's a train wreck waiting to happen, because there's going to be a 21-year-old guy who says, I feel like a girl, goes into a girl's restroom. There's a 12-year-old girl. He's going to say, I feel like a boy. And something bad's going to happen. And then we're going to say, well, how did that happen?
Well, it's according to how you feel that day, though.
Exactly. Or at that moment.
Right.
Bob Vander Plaats is our guest today, president and CEO of the Family Leader. The big summit's coming. We want you there, but you have to have a ticket. It's free. We don't want anything out of your pocket. We just want some time, and we want your voice. July 18th, C.Y. Stevens Auditorium in Ames. You can get that free ticket at thefamilyleader.com, because we're not going to give out more tickets than there are seats. So when they're gone, they're gone. So get one today. Thefamilyleader.com. 99.3 The Truth, powered by webcast1live.com. We'll be broadcasting live for 6 or 8 hours that day. And I can talk to Huckabee and Rubio and all these guys all day long. It's really your voice I want to hear. After you listen to some of these guys, I want you to come down and tell me what you think. You're the most important voice in the room. So come and share it with us that day on the radio. So what do we as Christians need to armor up with for the next fight in this pushing God out of society and telling him he's not welcome?
Well, first of all, I would say, it's time to gird your loins. That comes right out of Scripture.
Yeah.
Because we are entering the era of when Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, when you are persecuted. He didn't say if. He said, when you are persecuted for righteousness' sake. And that's the realm we're going into right now. I mean, we see Christians overseas getting beheaded. But it's now coming right here to roost in our own country. And then I'd put on the spiritual armor. Put on the belt of truth. Put on the helmet of salvation. Put on the breastplate of righteousness. I mean, Ephesians tells you how to gird up, but stay in the Word, stay in prayer, and stay connected to a community of believers. Because community of believers will inspire one another on. You're stronger together than you are alone.
What's going to happen when a couple does to any church what they did to the Gertz house? What will happen in the legal system?
Well, I think what's going to happen is that you're going to see a civil rights code violation, and they're going to sue the church. For the people to believe that the churches are off ground, there's no way they'll get touched, that is absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
And Romans 1, Matthew 19, Mark 9, all that is going to be hate speech. And the one thing about marriage, it is a consistency throughout Scripture from Genesis to Revelation about what marriage is and what marriage isn't. Jesus basically says, it's a duh. Have you not heard?
Yeah.
God created male and female. And what he joined together, no one should separate.
All right. Well, Bob, I sure appreciate you being here. Family Leader, president and CEO. Been with them 10
5 years.
Is that all?
I ran for governor before that. So.
Yeah, that's right. And you were a principal before that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Well, God bless you and your staff. And Drew Zahn, what a great addition he's been.
I tell you, we just have a great team. God's blessed us with a great, great team. And he's girding us up to, to have an impact in this culture for such a time as this. We are not going to shrink away. We're going to stand on truth, and we're going to do it in love.
Yeah. All right. It's the big Family Leader Summit. It'll be the biggest event in politics here in Iowa this year. It's at C.Y. Stevens Auditorium in Ames on the 18th day of July. That is
Saturday.
2 weeks from this
2
Saturday.
weeks from Saturday, yes it is.
Tickets are free, but you got to have one. Don't come up there early in the morning and think because you're in line you'll get in. There's only so many seats. There's only so many butts that are going to go in those seats, and those butts got to be tied to tickets. And the only way you're going to get a ticket is to go to thefamilyleader.com. You'll hear Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson about 10 in the morning. Then you'll hear Mike Huckabee, Mr. Perry, and Mr. Cruz at about 1:30. By the way, there will be a free lunch in between that. Free lunch. And then at 4 o'clock, Bobby Jindal, Rick Santorum, and Mr. Walker. So it'll be a great day. It will not be talking points. It will not be stump speeches. It will be the real deal. And it'll be your opportunity to know who the right person is for you. And by the way, I hope you pray before you go. In fact, I hope you start praying today before you start going, that God will clean all that garbage out in your heart and your soul, and you'll really come with a open mind and an open heart, because God's going to surprise you. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to pop out of that you didn't pay any attention to, and you're going to go, wow, that guy inspired me. He's the guy I want. All right, until then, I'll see you tomorrow. But remember, tonight, on your knees, put that name forward that you need to forgive, and forgive them, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.